Hello, friends. Good to be coming to you here today from Washington, D.C. I'm going to give it a minute to let some folks join me, see if we're making a connection here. Not seeing anyone yet, so I'm just going to hang out for a minute. So glad to be here and hope that some folk will be able to join me. Coming to you live now from the Purple Parlor in Washington, D.C. My name is Ginger Gaines Sorelli. I'm the senior pastor at Foundry United Methodist Church here in the city. And it's my gift and honor to spend some time sharing some always unscripted thoughts from the Purple Parlor. Glad that you're here today and hope that you're doing okay as we have hit midweek on another week. We are moving through time. Time is passing. It's one of the things that's been on my mind. But before I kind of move into that reflection today, I just need to say that one of the other things that keeps interrupting time, this time, which is already so heavy with grief and loss, are these inescapable, unless we are really trying to escape the news of what is happening to our siblings who are Black in this country. I preached a couple of weeks ago about the pandemic of racism, and we continue to see the effects of this dis-ease, this deep illness, this sin that has our nation in its grip, and for which we as a nation, as a people, as a whole, have not been able or willing. We have not been willing to do what it takes at every level to bring healing and equity and justice. And I just need to say that right up front today because it needs to be said, and particularly those of us who are white need to own what is our role in this pandemic, in the reality of this systemic brokenness in our human family, in the whole world, really. I've seen it play out in so many different ways in different places where I've been, but this is where I live. This is where many of us live, is in this country, and it is time, friends, it is so beyond time for us as people of faith, as people of conscience, to do anything and everything we can to make a change. I'm grateful that Foundry United Methodist Church, the community that I serve, is actively and has been actively engaging this pandemic in a variety of ways. And I want to encourage you, if you are a member or constituents, someone who's been actively involved in Foundry for a while, please do check your email. We sent out the survey, which is kicking off our latest piece of work as we seek to acknowledge and address our own internal obstacles, issues, and practices that may be propping up white supremacy and racism, even as we seek to take down those barriers. So if you have not yet received that email, please check your spam or your junk mail, because it's a new address that we're sending from, and so we want to make sure that you receive that and can help us do this work well. We need every voice to really get a sense of where we are. We are determined to be honest and to address this head on. So please help us, if you're connected to Foundry, actively to participate in that today. This is one of the things that I've been noticing, that I've been dealing with a lot of, added grief and rage. I've been feeling a lot of rage. And trying to channel that in ways that are helpful and healing and not further destructive. And one of the things also that I've been really aware of is how in these moments, I have time and again, people these days are talking about how time has no meaning right now. And thinking about how we are in time. And it would be very easy for me to just get completely swallowed up with worry and grief and rage and spend whole days there. And that is part of lament, and it's okay to do that. I actually have spent some days there. I also realize that, many of us are called upon to do things and to take care of responsibilities and need to figure out how to inhabit time in a way that allows us to continue moving, even as we may be carrying with us those complex and often intense emotions and reactions and responses to what's happening in our lives and in the world, not just COVID-19, but all of this injustice that has been so starkly revealed. Even it's always been there. I just am praying and crying out to God that this will be another opportunity, a moment when people might actually look and perceive it. White people who have not been willing to do it. So, how do we inhabit this time? How do we hold all the things that we're holding? That it's a lot. It is a lot, and it's heavy, and it's hard. I've said that so many times over these weeks. But one of the things that I'm thinking of right now is this sense, the issue of time and how we are in time. I talked about waiting on Sunday and how hard it is for us to wait. We're not exactly a culture that likes to wait on things. We are constantly trying to find ways to speed up whatever it is we're doing. And the waiting is a real challenge for us. But I'm thinking about what it is we can do to help be in time in ways that feel like we can find a sense of balance and purpose and even peace, or at least to create containers to hold our rage or our grief or our stress. And in our lives, whether we're trying to do this or not, we create habits. We all have habits in our lives, our days, the things that we normally do. I mean, one of the things that my spouse and I laugh about is that there is a very clear way that I start my day, and I could go down the stairs, get into the kitchen, put the kettle on, grind the beans, start the coffee, do this whole thing with my eyes closed. It's like, and if anything is out of place in that very habituated morning ritual, I am completely thrown off. I need that space to kind of ground myself, and that is where I ooze into the day. We have habits that we do. Some of us have, a number of habits in our days. And of course, we also know, I think, that some habits are healthy habits and some habits are not healthy habits. But I was thinking about, and we talk about how easy it is when you have a good habit and you get out of it, how hard it is to get it back. That can be going to the gym or working out. That can be going to worship. That can be a practice that is healthy for you that you do in your own home. We can get out of good habits. But the other thing I was thinking about is this. I mentioned last week the idea of ritual and how important I've realized ritual is for me in terms of marking time to help set the time into some kind of manageable rhythm, daily, weekly, monthly. And I find that's especially important for me now. I started thinking and wondering to myself, what's the difference between habit and ritual? And I found a quote from Frederick Buechner. Many of you will maybe be mindful and know of this spiritual writer. This is a very old book. The pages are all yellowed. I've had it a long time. But Frederick Buechner says this. He says, and this is about ritual. A ritual is the ceremonial acting out of the profane, sort of everyday thing, in order to show forth its sacredness. A sacrament is the breaking through of the sacred into the profane. A sacrament is God offering God's holiness to us. A ritual is our raising up the holiness of our humanity to God. And as is often the case, I find Buechner's words helpful and interesting to consider. A ritual is our raising up the holiness of our humanity to God. So it's this sense of intention of offering something of ourselves, something that is everyday, something that is normal. Even my morning coffee ritual could be a coffee habit, could become a ritual if I enter into that space, aware of the gift of a new day, aware of the gift of the practice, the gift of being able to feed my furry beasts, my dogs and my cat, to have this home in which I can move through with such familiarity and a sense of safety and peace. All of that can become a ritual that helps me ground myself in a place of peace and intention at the beginning of the day. The other thing I love about this idea of offering our humanity to God with some intention is that it doesn't have to just be peaceful things. It can be, like I was saying before, it can be moments of lament. It can be that deep, raw space, or the place where we feel that we just need to sit in a place of numbness or feeling the weight of what this time in the world is doing to us, and just to sit with that and offer that to God. That, in that moment of prayer, can be the ritual of offering your humanity to God. Even simple sitting practices, offering whatever is real for you to God, can become part of a daily ritual. I also am mindful that these things, rituals, help us. And I'm curious, I think, one of the things I have also mentioned is just time markers are important. So today, being with you is one. Sunday worship for me has always been one. My workout routine is another. My prayer and devotion time is another. Like watering the plants once a week is something that I've tried to ritualize, to the sense of caring for creation. And these things that help us kind of plan and move and hold and create containers and space for our lives, and to offer that, to make it an offering to God, can be perhaps a way to help us move through time when time feels like what I often say, it just melts. Time melts. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what hour it is. Where am I? So things to sort of ponder. One of the other things that I've been thinking about as I think about this issue of being in time and how we can be in time in a way that allows us to maintain some sense of groundedness and equilibrium and rituals can help us do that. And it's that ancient practice that it is across so many different spiritual traditions, but the practice of being present to the present moment, being in the present moment. Brother Lawrence, ages ago, wrote a little treatise on practicing the presence of God. And so sort of the sense of even while you're doing your daily rounds of chores, it's that offering of all of it to God, practicing the presence of God, that God is with me as I wash the dishes, that God is with me as I suck up all of the Clumber Spaniel tumbleweeds all over my house. Can that be practicing the presence of God? It's that sort of just constant calling God to mind as you do the things that you do. Be in the present moment. And I've heard from many folks, as we've reflected and shared some over these last weeks, that one of the gifts that some folks are experiencing is the practice of paying attention to these little things. The little things that otherwise they might have just passed right by. But because the world has gotten smaller, time has been sort of confined in this weird way, their attention is being drawn to things. I had dear friend share with me a few weeks back, that as he spends every day of his life caring for his children and taking care of his home and cooking 3 meals a day and doing all these things that were not his normal round before, that he's learning so much about his children, that he is learning to appreciate every blade of grass. I remember that phrase that he said, every blade of grass. It was this sense of practicing the present moment, seeing what is. There's that saying that says, so often we are stuck in the past, sort of yearning for something that has passed, or we're waiting or trying to get to the next thing, like moving ahead, but not just being right where we are. And sometimes, of course, that's because right where we are is so freaking hard, and we don't want to be there. And for many of us, maybe we're feeling that right now. But what I've been trying to sort out is how we can be in this time in a way that may still help us see, perceive, learn, or hold. Just hold what we have in a way that can become an offering to God and maybe ultimately to others. I found one other little reading I wanted to share with you. One of the great practitioners of practicing the present moment is Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. Many of you will know of this sage and teacher who's done a lot of work looking at the sort of connections between Christ and the Buddha. But he's a teacher and a practitioner of the present moment. And I'll just share with you a few lines from Thich Nhat Hanh and then bring us to a close. He writes, "Our true home is in the present moment. To live in the present moment is a miracle. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth in the present moment, to appreciate the peace and beauty that are available now. Peace is all around us, in the world and in nature, and within us, in our bodies and our spirits. Once we learn to touch this peace, we will be healed and transformed. It is not a matter of faith, it's a matter of practice." I love this, by the way, that I was reading. I have a number of his books that are his books, but this is from a collection called Life Prayers from Around the World. It's a cool little volume of all sorts of prayers and blessings. There's a saying that God is in that place where time, the present moment is where time touches eternity, where our time touches eternal time. And what I interpret that to mean is that the present moment is where we meet God. Our finiteness meets God's infiniteness, infinity. And we can be held in the present moment. So I want to encourage you to think about your habits, to think about how you might make your habits rituals, offerings of yourself, whatever you're bringing to God, to find if those things might be helpful markers as we move through this blob of what can often feel like unmarked time, marked only by Zoom calls and whatnot. And also to remember that it's in the present moment that we are able to encounter and to touch, if we're paying attention, even in pain and suffering and rage, grief, lament, that it's in the present moment that we will meet God. I think that's what I got today. I think that's what I've got today. We're all holding a lot. Again, I want to remind you that every day we're doing hard things. So continue to try to practice, gently practice things that help you hold time and move through time in ways that are caring of yourself and of others. And I want to encourage you to use the time when you're able, when you have the energy to use your time well to make a difference. And if you can, and if you're part of Foundry, don't forget to take the survey that I mentioned at the beginning, the Journey to Racial Justice survey. Look in your email box. This is our shared work. There's nothing more important for us to be doing right now than to try to participate in God's mending so that the world might become more fully a reflection of God's vision for human family at peace with justice, no longer feeling the need to do such harm. So let's do what we can. Let's offer our humanity to God and trust that God will meet us there. Will you pray with me? Loving God, for the promise that you are with us in every moment, and that if we're paying attention, we'll be mindful of your presence with us right now. We give you thanks, and we thank you for the ways that you help us order our lives in ways that are meaningful, so that time is not without meaning, but that time is filled with offerings to you and to other people in love. Guide our steps today. Hold everyone within the sound of my voice that is feeling rage, exhaustion, like they're just done. And just hold them. Give them rest. And for all of us who are more, to be more, to stand up in solidarity, give us courage, give us energy, and help us know how to walk in the ways that lead to righteousness and justice. We offer ourselves in this prayer in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thanks for being with me a while, y'all. Glad you've been with me. And encourage you to, if you found this helpful, pass it on, share it with other folks. We have stuff on our website at foundryumc.org, and on the YouTube channel, you'll find all of the